Okay, so
Mm.
Brent, can you see LinkedIn?
Let me look.
I don't think it's happened quite yet. Okay, now it looks like it's gone
X is
through.
live.
So
X is live, as you can hear.
Brent, can you see
I have
LinkedIn?
no
Turn
idea
that
how
audio
to.
off, please.
Yeah.
Only way to do that is to stop watching it, which I've done.
Facebook is live.
Well, put it this way. Turn it off.
No, I've done that.
No, he's done it.
Oh,
I was way
It's
ahead
live,
of
by the
you.
way.
what?
LinkedIn is live, by the way.
Okay,
LinkedIn's
great.
live.
So what
Wow.
about
Okay, sounds like
Facebook?
Facebook's live.
all right. So we're live on Facebook, LinkedIn,
Okay, give us the
YouTube,
intro,
and
Tina.
Twitter. We are mute is off. That's what it is. Mute is off. This is gonna be the Gillmor gang. Let me
Boy, that's going to
switch.
be perfect timing.
Stop it.
Was
Take
were you recording
three.
that?
I'm gonna no. Mute is off, and we're gonna go in 3, 2, 1, and
Hi, Steve Gilmore here. This is the Gilmore Gang, and welcome back to our summer travelers. Frank Radis, welcome back.
Thank you very much. I've had exciting times in Europe. It's been Nice. It's great. We tried to get to Ez to go visit where Belzer used to live, but just never made it out of Nice because they had the Ironman World Championships blocking the roads for 2 days.
oh no.
What
That
is
was
the
kind of
name
fun.
Ironman? Is that the downhill?
Biking, swimming, and running. And it's a full marathon, and it's like 2 miles of swimming in the open ocean, and like I don't know, I want to say 60, 70 miles on bikes in one day. It's
Oh my
crazy.
goodness.
Anyway, there you go. That was my highlight. That and trying to avoid misinformation in this ridiculous political
Yeah,
Good
climate.
luck.
good luck with that. Okay,
Yeah.
we're not going to be talking about the election this time.
Oh yes, we
Oh, we're not.
Jeez, after all that time, you got to be kidding.
Yeah, nothing's changed. Trump's still going to win.
No, there have been changes, but the changes haven't mattered.
I'll agree with that.
We're still
Yeah.
gonna talk about it though.
Yeah,
You
we'll
think?
see. From the state of confusion
Oh,
is our good friend Brent Leary.
Wearing my Prince jersey today just for these special occasions.
Ooh,
Okay.
That's from when Prince
Welcome.
played quarterback.
how's things going in Georgia there? Can you feel it?
Feel what?
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
a lot of things.
Something.
I feel a lot of things, but
Is it feeling exciting? Are people motivated to vote? Are they going to make a difference in this election?
Pick one.
they're excited, motivated, but it's more for college football than anything else.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
just play it, you know.
From the framework of Massachusetts is Dennis Pombriant.
Greetings, everyone, and happy autumn. It's nice to be back here.
Yes.
Well, you haven't been anywhere. You've been right where you are, right? You've been painting up a storm.
Well, actually, I did some painting, but I was down in your neck of the woods in June to pick up a puppy.
what kind of puppy would that be?
It is a chestnut-colored French water dog. My last one died in May, very unexpectedly, and it was puppy season, so we said, "All right, let's get one."
Why not?
Yeah, and yeah, I've never flown with a dog before.
And the name of your new family member?
Rooster.
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 Named after
Rooster.
Cogburn, or
I was just thinking the same thing, Brent. But
So
maybe
so
he's
here,
the only rooster we know, except for Foghorn Leghorns.
I say, yeah, Frank.
So here's the way
Wow.
that works. The last dog was a French water dog as well, and his name was Trek after Toulouse-Lautrec, and I figured that all out. And when we got the puppy, I was informed that his name is Rooster.
Ah, okay, okay. As
Full
as
stop.
Denzel would say, okay, okay.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah, but he's 5 months old now. He's going through his adolescent stage where he bites everything, even me.
Yeah,
And the
I'm going
cats
through
stay
that
away.
too.
The cats stay away.
The cats actually stand up to him.
Okay.
We have pretty tough cats.
They're not getting eaten by anyone, I bet.
No,
They're
they
not.
they
Ooh.
carry guns.
Well, I don't think he
First
wants.
reference of the fall. Okay, from the
Those
state
cats.
of Palo Alto is Keith Cheer.
Shana Tova.
Shana
Happy New
Tova.
Year.
Shout out to that.
That's
Man,
right.
Blow
my
the
I know
Sharona.
chauffeur.
Jewish.
My
This
Sharona
is
to
the
you too.
New Year week if you're Jewish. And I just reminded when he said rooster, I had this German friend, Sabina, who used to say, it'll all be okay when the cows come home to roost.
Is this Chat GPT that you use?
Could be, couldn't it? Could be. You could
Everybody.
say, Chat
Hallucinate.
GPT, pretend that you're a German English speaker that can't tell the difference between chickens and cows.
Right, and so Chat GPT builds some really strong trees.
Okay, and
Right.
right next to me here on the
Oh no.
the Gilmore Gang Bema is
Bema?
Tina Chase Gilmore.
Wow, more Jewish references. Hi there. It's been an exciting summer. We became grandparents again. We have a
Yikes.
baby number 3 named. Oh, Steve's gonna show. He's
Oh, what a cutie.
Put it
Doesn't
on-
look at all like. Hey, actually, he looks a
put
lot
it
like
on
you,
mine.
Steve.
on mine.
There's no way that looks like Steve because it's smiling.
Wow.
Good point.
I remember Steve when he
She's
smiled.
smiling
I
at
do.
Tina, by the way.
I remember Keith. I remember Steve when he used to smile, Keith. So
Yeah, but there was, that was aided by
exactly, but it doesn't matter. Its smile is a smile.
Such a happy looking little baby.
Thank you. Thank you. She is. She's a very happy baby. Now that she's kind of come online, she's about 3 months old now.
no 3.5 months.
3.
No.
I stand corrected. Grandpa's corrected me. Papa as he is known, and
She's
to our
Gaga.
grandchildren. I'm Gaga.
Lady Gaga.
Yeah, and
Yeah, that's
we're very excited to have 3 grandchildren now, granddaughters. And
So when does the Gilmore Grand Gang start up? That should be coming shortly.
ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
kind
would.
of
I don't think I
fine
would call
programming
it that.
choices.
Yeah,
If
so
you
great.
want to follow our daughter, you'll get plenty of pictures and plenty of videos. So do that.
Okay.
They're so cute.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, that was a long intro.
Well,
Are you
about 6
typing
months
this?
worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's
Just
going
kidding.
on?
Hey, I do have something I want to talk about. It's not AI yet. I do want to talk about that later, so we can squeeze it in. So I, as you know, and I think you all agree that the media has been a major culprit in this whole political Megillah, and that they've really been bad actors, at least the mainstream media. Crazy New York Times and Washington Post, the positions they took and all that, and all now they've turned around somewhat, and most of the mainstream media is reporting on all of the problems that everyone was complaining that they weren't reporting on about 6 months ago, but it's not getting the attention it deserves. And regardless of how, the media is not playing it so much differently than they would normally play it straight up. It's not working. Nobody seems to hear it. A. B. I am getting convinced that it's going to be a Harris win. I'm getting there. But in any case, those are the 2 things that are on my mind. I don't know what you think about the media thing. It's like, okay, too little, too late, maybe?
Yeah. So I hear you on that. So do you mean things like the media is actually saying, hey, everyone
No,
likes to
no,
hear
no, no,
Kamala, but what about all this crap that Trump
no. It's
saying
the way it was
yesterday?
played, Tina. It's more the way the media played the stories, where they tried to make Donald Trump seem to be more sane. They sort of sanitized them. They cleaned them up like they would never clean them up before.
Yeah, this is the New York Times
Well, they're
meme,
not the
right?
only ones, though.
I know,
You
but
know,
I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all.
no? Okay.
Oh,
Well, I think that they're a leader in the media and that they tend to have people who follow their style guides. And it seems to me, hey, look, you're probably right because I'm not there. And I'm only getting this stuff online anyway. But you know, for the longest time, I was really pissed off the way that the New York Times was writing stories, and I'm less pissed off now.
Hmm.
Do you think, there's a possibility that what you're pissed off at, and what I think I'm pissed off at the same thing, is that they treat or have treated Trump like a serious candidate.
well, if
And
he
they
wins, that would kind of validate that, wouldn't it?
they try to throw fastballs down the center of the plate when which therefore enables them not to have to fact check quite so much. Um, and yeah,
I do have something.
Go
Sorry.
ahead.
No, that was a recording of an earlier thing. I think that uh people
So you
aren't
don't
paying
really have
attention.
anything
People,
that
I
you
do.
want to
People
say.
are not paying attention to the mainstream media, and they're complaining about something that they're not paying attention to.
Hmm.
And that may be the reason. All of a sudden, I'm having this flash. Maybe that's the reason that I feel the way I feel. That the mainstream media, it doesn't matter. You talk about the numbers. I mean, you know, 100 million on a stream versus, you know, 8 million on ABC. You can't compete with that.
But
I
Well,
just
then,
think you've got to before you even get into it, you've got to in your own mind, and we'll probably all have different weighing machines here, but to what extent is the media a mirror, and to what extent is it a propaganda machine that actually impacts people's thinking? And I think it's more of a mirror than a propaganda machine. I think that the actual power of the media to shape outcomes is almost zero. And the real people.
I hope you're right, Keith, by the way. I'm not that. I do.
So this, but then that begs the question, what does shape people's views? And I think most of it is their neighbors, their friends, the conversations they're having, their life, whether their bank account is in good shape, you know, whether they're taking vacations, whether their kids are getting jobs after college, all of which is, by the way, despite the good economy, there's lots of negatives there. That at the level of life experiences, there's quite a few negatives. And that, I think that's why Trump focuses on immigration, because he's trying to get into the street level experience, which he assumes to be bad, and leverage that to his own advantage.
So let's say that what you just said is accurate. What's going to happen?
Honestly,
No, I'm asking
with
Keith.
the, I mean the whole election, what the outcome is?
Yeah, I think he
yeah,
has
yeah.
a
Oh,
question.
well, I didn't, so I'm clarifying.
Yeah.
I don't know is the right answer, but I've gone through swings and roundabouts. The first couple of weeks after Biden dropped off, I was thinking Kamala Harris would win by enough of a margin not to worry. I now don't think that anymore. I'm starting to think Trump's still very much in the race, probably with a slight edge in the swing states, because people don't own up to voting for him in polls. So the polls probably underestimate him. And I think it's kind of totally on a knife edge.
So, you know, I think that when I speak to friends and others,
friends and lovers.
the friends and others, I
No,
think
she doesn't speak to lovers. There isn't enough time.
I think we get what I hear the most is that people are just surprised on either side how close the race is. Um, that they would expect that there be more of a gap, more of a differential. And I guess on the Democratic side, it's super frustrating. We have a hard time understanding even how Trump could be a possible contender with all that has happened with him and our previous experience with him being the ex-president of the United States. Um, and those were not pleasant years for me personally. I didn't like it. I didn't like waking up
Kidding.
every morning and being, like frantic about what has happened since I went to bed the night before. I mean, I really that was a reality for me.
Still is.
Still is thinking about, what could be. Um, I'd like to posit something. How much of this slim margin here is due to old-fashioned misogyny?
Explain a bit more what you mean by that.
Is this, I mean, I think Kamala Harris has, first thing, she's the vice president of the United States, so she has a pretty good idea of what is going on and how to run a country. So all the people who, need more information about her, or is she competent enough or whatever, that falls flat from, that falls like, that's a big excuse. Like that's nothing. I just kind of wonder if we're dealing with, I mean, you start to hear about, well, Trump is getting more and more of the male vote in the polls. Um,
Yes.
is this just this like, hey, we don't trust women to run this country. We've never had one. Um, I don't know who men are comparing her to, but it seems like there's a lot of men who are not for her because she's a woman.
Honestly,
You're
Tina, I
not, you're
think
not asking that
Well,
question.
I'm saying
You're
that.
saying that.
I'm saying that, but I'm asking you, do you think that you're feeling that? Are you feeling that from people that you talk to? Are you getting subliminal messages? Are you hearing, little things like that?
Yes
I
and no. I would say yes, because I think the campaign realizes that too, and that's why they've deployed, I don't know, Sam Elliott with his gravelly voice to say it's time to vote for a girl. So I think there is that issue. I don't know how real it is. I do think that they're concerned about it just as much as anybody. And this is an election where every single little vote, wherever you find it, is going to be critical. So yeah,
I'm on the other side of that, Tina. I think if you look at the decades since the 60s, the number of men who are either consciously or unconsciously sexist is massively declining every decade. As women's rights came to the forefront, and then women in positions of power, even though it isn't anywhere near enough, it's certainly enough to have normalized the idea. And think most men are pro women being elevated to their rightful position. I think that the sexist outlook is older and fringy. So I think it's more that Kamala Harris has flaws. You all know Jenny, my wife, or some of you do. She is going to vote for Kamala, but she can't barely listen to her because she's so shallow and superficial and kind of scripted and doesn't seem like a real person. That's what I hear over and over. And I think those are meaningful truths that are really part of her. She is not a person with gravitas.
Okay, this is crazy.
Hold
Okay.
on. What? Go ahead.
This is crazy. Who is she running against? He's
that's
got
true.
gravitas.
That's
I mean,
true,
this
but
is, come
that
on,
wasn't the
this is.
question.
He's a
That
black
wasn't,
hole. That's different.
Yeah,
no,
I
that
think
wasn't the question. That
she,
wasn't the
she doesn't,
question.
she didn't
The
graduate
question
from
was
law
asked by
school.
Tina.
I'm just saying this is getting a little out of hand. I mean, what does she have to do to prove she has gravitas? I mean, she was a lawyer, she was attorney general, she was a senator, she's the vice president. Where is there not any gravitas in that? I don't get
Well,
this.
it's in her constant sloganeering and lack of actual discourse.
Like make America great again.
Yeah, or freedom. You know, what does that mean?
I think if you watch her,
don't
if
go
you
there.
watched
Don't
her,
go there.
you've seen what she's
Oh,
talking
please
about.
go there. I'd like to
This
have
is really
Freedom for
amazing.
women
some
to handle their
counter
own bodies.
to these
Ooh,
kinds of
let's
blanket
start
statements.
there.
Freedom.
Keep
Freedom
some.
is the thing that the
Wait,
president
I
of the
want
United
to
States
hear
sells.
who's talking.
Dennis.
Could I hear you, Dennis?
Freedom is the thing that the president of the United States sells. It is the big thing of America. America promises the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They don't guarantee you the pursuit of happiness. They guarantee you the freedom to go after it. If you go back 50 years or a little bit more, read some of the speeches of John Kennedy. John Kennedy sold freedom in almost every speech, even when he didn't have to. He stood in Berlin and said, as a free man.
Yeah, but he just didn't repeat a slogan. He actually had a discourse and a narrative.
I mean, like, get the country moving again?
That would not be a supportive statement based on the general population, certainly not the Republicans in 1960. He won by similar kinds of swing state votes in terms of it's rumored widely that he was elected through a deal that his father made with
Organized crime in Chicago.
thank you.
Oh, that.
So
there's a serious double
I don't
standard.
I don't see
They're
the real
daily.
variance between the political statements of the candidates for president of the United States.
But there's a double standard when it comes to, I don't know if it's just men and women, but I think there's that, and there's a racial component here too. Like, I mean, you have to be blind not to see that. I mean, how can you look at her and say she doesn't have gravitas, and you look at the guy she's running against, talking about eating dogs and pets? That makes absolutely no sense to me.
But Brett, the question was, why is it so close? And
why are we going back to what you think the question was? Why don't you address what Brent just said?
There's always racism and there's always sexism, so it'd be stupid to deny that. But the real question is that what's driving the closeness? I don't think so. I think it's just, you've got two candidates. And if you want to include the other one, we can talk about that as well. I've got plenty to say on him. But you've got two candidates that I don't think anyone really believes that they're good enough to lead America.
Wow.
I think that's ridiculous.
I
don't think anybody on this call, with the exception of you, perhaps, thinks that.
Well, by the way, everyone on this call is voting for Kamala, as far as I know, including me. So this isn't a conversation. This is actually trying to puzzle.
But you're
why is it so
representing
close?
You're representing a point of view which is not necessarily shared by everybody on this call.
Keith,
That's the best kind of point of view, because then we can discuss.
Now that's an opinion on your part that controversy is somehow more valuable
than uniformity. Uniformity, if you want. Yeah, Kamala's awesome. Everyone's a racist or a sexist, and Kamala's awesome.
Is that what you're saying?
Let's move on to the next topic.
Is that? Oh, you look.
No,
like you're trying to change the subject.
No. Here's what I would like to say. I would like to add something. I am going to vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I'm voting for them because I like them. I'm actually it is not a vote. It is not an un-Trump vote, even though it could be. It's not.
Yeah.
I like them. I do think that they are competent to run the country. I think that Kamala Harris has shown that she has what it takes. That's my opinion. Um, Other people may think differently. They have different reasons why they may be voting for her. I'm voting for her because I like her.
I
Yeah.
like
I think she's
I do
tough.
too.
I think she's smart. I think she has even room to grow, which I'm excited about. From what I've seen from the instant this campaign started, when Joe Biden stepped off the platform, she did an amazing job of just clearing out all that crap that they were talking about. Oh, we're gonna have to do some kind of, town squares, and she just went to work and just proved herself right away and got a lot of support. And I believe those people are still behind her. Um, there are some people who say that the enthusiasm for Trump was at its height when there was the assassination attempt. And then they had their convention, and now maybe it's waning a little bit. I don't know. It's really hard to tell. I certainly see a lot of people excited about Trump. I see signs, I see talk, I hear talk. Um, but uh, I think that I guess I'm a little disappointed that the race is so close. Um, and I think it's going to make me, double my efforts to do something, to make some noise, to help. Um, so I don't know. That's where I stand, but I did want to be clear about why I'm voting for her.
I agree with you 100%. I like them. Kudos on you. And she's fantastic. So kudos on her. And
Yeah.
I already voted, and I voted for her
Ah,
and Tim. Let me double back for a couple of minutes here about the sexism thing. I think there's another layer in that. And that is during the 4 years that Trump was the president, he almost openly allowed people to act the way that they felt like they wanted to act instead of acting the way that they normally act as regular human beings in our society. And I think that kind of laxed leadership and those immoral morals, I think that a lot of people jumped on them and said, I can do whatever I want now. And in the end, by the way,
And yet he won.
well,
Where's he won?
I'm not arguing that. That's not the point I'm arguing. I'm just
I'm not
saying
arguing.
that
I'm saying,
that
to
depends
what
on your
end?
definition of what the word argue is, Steve. Well, anyway, I think in terms of the
But he
sexism
won.
thing,
He
yes,
won. So
yes,
what
yes.
good is a
Oh,
pop
this would have helped
that
him.
professes? What good is a populace that professes a moral structure and living according to semi-religious principles if they end up electing this person
Yeah,
as
you're right.
president of the United States?
You're 100% right. That's not what I was talking about.
Well, it
I was
happens all
talking
the
about
time, though.
huh?
It happens all the time. What you're talking about, Frank, is Trump set up a permission structure, and the people at the fringe said, "Oh yeah, that's good for me." I can see that happening right now. Every
Yeah,
time I go out to drive, with the number of people who buzz through red lights, thinking they're special or they're not going to get caught or whatever. It's the permission structure.
yes. Ding, ding, ding. Wish I had a bell.
Can we also talk a little bit about? I think there's some mythology around people voting with their pocketbooks all the time because the richest folks, I mean, have they gotten any less rich over the last 4 years? As I look at the stock market, It's at all-time highs. Profits are at all-time highs. So if they were to vote with their pocketbooks, wouldn't they kind of want to maintain what's going on? But no, they vote against it because I guess maybe they think there's more honey in the pot if they get some guy in there who, and I think it's seen over the last couple 20 years or so, when the job creation is getting in and when the economy in the stock market, it seems like Democrats, when they're in office, have performed better. I'm not saying that as my opinion. I think I've seen the numbers on that. So if that were the case, then why would you vote against that? And then on the flip side, there are some poor people who are voting for somebody who absolutely is not representing their financial best interests either. I think it's more than just financial. There's some undercurrents here around other things besides
I
economics.
agree. I agree with that. I think that, broadly speaking, in quotes, the culture wars influence opinion a lot more than economics right now. And especially the poorer you are, it tends to be that the cultural wars are higher in your thinking. And of course, most people are poor in terms of voter numbers. So it feels like a much more, I would say abortion and immigration go both ways. And it kind of depends what your center of gravity is culturally and ethically and morally, which way you go. And so the anti-immigrant lobby is not the same as the pro-women lobby, although there's probably a crossover somewhere in the middle. And I think those issues are real in people's minds, and the candidates just reflect back in an attempt to harvest votes. I don't think the candidates create those opinions. I think they harvest them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
That's
think
true.
Trump has created certain opinions, especially around immigration. I'm not saying that's typical or usual, but it's a reality right now.
Has he harvested them or has he inflamed them? Because there are people living like in the middle of the country talking about migration as the number one policy for them. They haven't seen an immigrant in I don't know how long, and they have never been down to the border, but yet and still that's the number one issue for them.
Well,
I don't know about that.
I don't know
go back to the cats and dogs, though. That's a completely made up thing.
That is true.
The cats and dogs thing is not something that organically percolated up from the population.
Yeah, but he didn't
But
make that up.
I will tell
he
you
grabbed
that
onto it and inflamed it and spread it further and further than the person who started it could ever have done.
Well, I'll tell you
I must
something else.
admit,
Eating cats and dogs is something that recurs in presidential elections throughout American history. It's a great way to vilify your opponent. Oh, look at them! They eat cats and dogs.
I agree.
Aside from the cats and dogs thing, which is clearly false, it is quite hard to know the truth about immigration. Like I on MSNBC, I watched Steve Katner the other day, and he seemed to accept that there were roughly 12 million illegal immigrants that came across the border. The Ratner, Steve Ratner, is it the economist?
The guy with the charts.
Yeah, the charts. He seemed to accept that there were 10 to 12 million illegal immigrants across the border during the Biden administration. I have no idea if that's correct, but it's a big number if it is correct. And then in Springfield, even though Haitians aren't eating cats and dogs, apparently about 20,000, not 80,000, but about 20,000 Haitians are in Springfield, which is a city of 80,000 people. So that obviously has a big cultural impact on the street. And so, what is the truth about immigration? I generally am pro-immigration, although I'm not pro out of control immigration. I am totally pro-immigration. But I do acknowledge that if 12 million people came in uncontrolled and ended up in various places, that's not a zero on the impact it would have on people.
What do you mean by uncontrolled?
That as in coming through the border, not as part of an immigration program to fulfill labor needs, but on the basis of asylum seeking, which is if you like, push immigration instead of pull immigration. A bit like is happening on the fringes of the Mediterranean in Europe, where there's an influx that wasn't planned. And therefore it ends up getting through based on the laws because we're a liberal society, which is good. But then you can't deny that would have an impact on the ground, and it gives a fertile ground for racists like Trump to feed off.
Keith, I would only make the observation that when you say that the truth is unknowable, you're feeding into a conservative trap.
Maybe I'm just saying, I'm just owning up to the fact that I actually personally don't know what the true numbers are.
And they like it that way.
Yeah.
Hey, can I just real quickly throw out the idea of mental health in this whole mishigas? Mental health, not necessarily in something clinical, but if you study elections, you know that at this time in an election cycle, you always get down to that percentage or two of people who are still undecided. They just can't make a decision. Why is that? I don't have any data, but I think it should at least be examined about whether or not these people are capable of making a decision, whether they have the intellectual tools to stack rank two alternatives and to come up with an answer.
Okay, but I
And I don't know what you do with that.
Yeah. How would you do that? Prove mental competency for everybody who's going to vote?
Well, you know, there are statistics about people with all kinds of things, whether it's obsessive compulsive behavior or ADD or Alzheimer's or whatever. I'm sure there's statistical information about decision making.
Well, but you're not suggesting that all 2 percentage point would be people who have a questionable cognitive ability, are you? Or is it enough of that 2% that it matters?
The latter. I'm just saying, I'm saying that there's a fraction of that undecided vote that simply might not be able to make a decision. You hear stories about people who say, well, I just went into the booth and I picked one right at the end.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it's America. Everybody gets
I
one.
suppose there's a possibility there that there are some mental issues that where someone can't make a decision, but I wouldn't lose too much sleep over it.
I see it in my life.
What I'd like to ask, I guess, Keith, because he's closest now to these people. The valley is sort of riddled with rich male Trump supporters.
Yeah.
I'd like to also add to that, while they are supporting Trump, they are not supporting women. And these men have a bad track record for not supporting women. I am not surprised, but I think it's brazen, and I think it's pretty horrific, actually.
So what are you asking, Keith?
I'd like to see why is their decision making about who's going to run this country not focusing on the human rights of half the population of the country?
Yeah. I think the valley, the noise is heavier than the real signal. There's some very loud, wealthy venture capitalists or entrepreneurs like Elon Musk and David Sachs and the like, who are clearly a few of them who are clearly pro-Trump. But, you know, I can tell you, Jenny goes to a women's group, which is from very high net worth families who are sending hundreds of thousands of mailers out to support Kamala. So I think actually the valley is heavily pro-Kamala, but the noise seems to be pro-Trump. And I just think that's noise, to be
Well,
honest.
I'm not sure that's borne out by you know, the data. Uh, Recently, somehow I got on this uh, notification list from people that purport, and I would underline that, purport to be from the Kamala Harris campaign. And they are, very direct about saying, based on today's whatever the pitch is, that, we got to hurry up. It's getting close, blah, blah, blah. Okay. In the last 2 days, I've seen very direct, most of these things are anonymous notifications. It'll say down at the bottom of the screen that, Apple thinks that this could be junk, which is kind of a clue. Uh, in the last 2 days, there have been uh, a very direct, coming from the Kamala Harris ID, uh, saying basically we're losing. Basically, the uh, people that Tina's been referencing in Silicon Valley have tipped over, the fundraising that's been going on the Democratic side to the point where the Democrats are now at a 2 to 5% disadvantage going into the last 30 days. And they're basically saying, you've got to support us right now because we're going to lose if you don't. Now,
I get those.
As a
Yeah.
tactical strategy, or whatever the appropriate words are, I don't think it's particularly smart what they're doing. And if you look at the comments, there's a lot of resistance to it.
Yeah.
Much more than so here's my point. We're getting down to brass tacks now, and the strategy of this is about freedom, this is about the loss of democracy, all that kind of stuff is giving way to a very some would say pedestrian argument about the rich get richer and the poor just have to suck it up.
Yeah, I'm not a politician, so I pass all this stuff through my personal brain. I get those same emails you get, Steve, and I interpret them in my brain as not desperation, but trying to trick me into giving money, because they're not
What's the
actually
difference?
possibly the same thing. But when it comes to the broader narrative, healthy capitalism produces rich people, and a globalized capitalism with the internet and mobile and AI produces billionaires.
Well, there's another story that is on your feed, which I found interesting. There are several clips about it. A good friend of ours is the CEO of Automatic, which is the parent company, in effect, to WordPress, which is responsible for some 40 to 80%, depending upon who you believe, of all the websites in the world, or certainly in the United States. And this is a tough fight that he's engaging with. And, I know Matt Mullenweg, pretty
From way
well
back.
over the years. Yeah. And so I believe him just from a matter not of the data, not the information, because it's really hard to tell. Does that ring a bell? Which side is actually dealing with facts? But I know the guy, and I see that this is representative to me of a struggle between investor groups, and in particular, industrial investors. I forget what the term is for it.
Activists.
Institutional.
Yeah, institutional. That's right. Um, and they've got their point, which is, we've made an investment, and we've done it legally, and this guy is bad mouthing us, and so we're suing him for slander. That's basically their position. And uh, uh, so my question is, when it gets down to brass tacks, as it is now, 30 days before this election,
Mhm.
The impact that those kinds of financial strategies on people who, I mean, I don't have a lot to say about open source versus, et cetera. I have friends who know a lot more about it than I do. But it strikes me that we're getting pushed into a corner here where we're gonna get down to the election, and we're gonna make a choice based on our pocketbooks, not on our morals, not on our uh, concern for the future for our children and grandchildren.
I'd like to believe, and I think I'm right, that the Valley interprets the pocketbook not as their personal pocketbook, but as our collective pocketbook. That is to say, what will create the greatest value in society that we all can share from? Most people I know in the Valley think like that. The people who don't stand out, and they're usually loud, but they're unusual as well. And I don't want to name names because I haven't asked anyone's permission to name them, but I know lots of super, super wealthy people in the Valley that are completely pro Kamala, even though she might put up capital gains tax, because they believe that innovation in general and investment in infrastructure in general will lift all boats. So I don't think it's that easy. That said,
But how can not you, but how can people support Donald Trump, uh, given
yeah,
that context? I don't believe that to be an
yeah,
honest
no,
decision
because
based
well,
on the humans involved. I think that's
yeah,
a out and out political strategy.
I think it's different with different people. There are clearly some people, I will call out David Sachs as being one of them, that is totally selfish and thinks about his own wallet. I agree with that. I don't think they represent the Valley in any way, but they do represent a part of the Valley. Then I think there's people like Elon who truly believes that the Democrats are against free speech. I think he actually believes that, based on all the things that we don't need to talk about that would lead him to that conclusion. And I don't think he's at all driven by his pocketbook, as was demonstrated by buying X for a crazy price and not caring. So everyone's different.
I don't think he cared. I think he cared. He said he cared. He just got, forced into it. He made a mistake, he said, in terms of his strategy, and he had to pay the price.
Yeah, but if you've been watching this weekend, where he's really pissed off with the government in North Carolina for not letting his helicopters land to help people who are stranded, he also cares about people. He's a complex person. He's not easily put in a box, but others are. They're just pocketbook people. I agree with that. But most people in the Valley, Vinod Khosla is a great example. Despite the fact he wants to close the beach where his house is, he's a huge opponent of those pro-Trump Valley people, and verbally and loudly an opponent. If he was just following his pocketbook, he'd go the other way.
What about effectively? Is he doing anything to minimize the leverage and the strength that the right is showing in this election?
Behind the scenes, a lot. Ron Conway, by the way, is also doing a lot. A lot.
Ron Conway is not behind the scenes in his.
He's front and center. Yeah, he's front and center. So is Vinod front and center, by the way, if you look at his Twitter feed. And he went on Sachs's podcast to disagree with them, as did Reid Hoffman, who's also a loud voice and a billionaire. So it's more subtle than the caricature suggests, I would say, and dominantly pro-Kamala.
I think there's a lot of people who are in the Trump camp, whether they're very rich or they're very average or even poor, who either don't understand the mechanisms of power in this country, or can't be bothered or think it's too much work to use them, and so they're trying to create chaos and bring at least a part of the system down, because it's easier for them to impose their idea, not through law, but through just their physical actions.
Accumulation of power.
Yeah, it's very much like what motivated January 6th. January 6th had no real possibility of succeeding, but these people saw it as an opportunity to knock down the power structure and hopefully replace it with something better for them.
I'm more focused, Tina, on not on men, but on poor people. Why do poor people tend to support Trump? And it is kind of an indictment of our society that the poor find a home in being anti-immigrant, nationalist, and the like. That suggests the lack of leadership that appeals to them. And it kind of forces you to go and address issues.
Well,
compare that to as a differentiator, compare that with 1968 and Bobby Kennedy. He was a tribune for the poor. The poor came out in massive numbers to mourn him.
Yeah. But that should be fixable, right? I mean, logically, the poor shouldn't be nationalist, populist, racists, because it's not going to help them.
If they believe in the system. And I think that's one of the strengths of Kamala's campaign.
I'd say it's also sometimes it's a little hard to distinguish poor from poorly educated.
Well, they go together, right? That's the schools in East Palo Alto aren't as good as the schools in part of Palo Alto I live in.
Right. And so, while we can say it's, poor people, we could also say it's maybe less educated people or people who are not as capable of reading or listening to something that's going on in the political sphere and being able to analyze it for themselves. If they're
That's what I was talking about before.
told this is the truth where it's a lie. And let's face it, Trump and the people who are supporting Trump do a lot of actual lying. Okay, let's not sugarcoat it. And people do believe these lies.
Well, it's because no one's telling them an alternative truth that they can get their head around. I actually think words like misinformation, disinformation, and lies are not strong weapons against people who support Trump, because they don't think that they're lies. So you actually have to come up with not labels like that, but you actually have to come up with things they can believe in.
I would actually say that it's not that they think that they're not lies or that, I don't know, Trump is telling them the truth. I really believe that they want to believe that stuff. That's why they say that's almost sort of like a reason for them to believe what they already want to believe. Why do people watch Fox News? And why do people watch MSNBC? Because it kind of reinforces where they are. So it's not about, they don't believe this until they heard it from here. It's like, no, they're seeking a place that reinforces what they already believe. And that's a lot of that is what's going on here.
I agree with that. But that then forces you to ask the question, why do they believe it? Why do they want to believe it? What is it about their life
Mm-hmm.
That means it's attractive to them to believe that.
And then, of course, the algorithm spits it all back at them all the time. So it's not
Oh, it
like I'm not
feeds
even
there.
choosing it. It's
Yeah.
just coming at me.
Algorithm feeds their what
I
they already
would
want.
Oh,
I
yeah.
would say, I wonder if this is your experience, all for those of you who look at Facebook every now and then. And I know that will exclude Dennis, I think. But if you look at your feeds in Facebook these days, I can barely find in my feed political talk.
Yeah, well,
They've
They
taken it out.
they've
really
taken it
have
out. They
taken it
said
out.
they were going to take it out, and they have.
And that's kudos to them for, I mean, I think they had to. I think it was a bit of a force, but it is it's a lot better this way, I think.
Well, they might have taken it out of Facebook, but if you notice all the links I send in our text chain there, YouTube, and I think YouTube is even more powerful because it's visual and video, and I think it jumps off the page, so to
Oh
speak,
yeah, I'm
much
not
more than
saying
the
it's
text
not
part.
out there in the social media,
Yeah.
but I'm saying that Facebook has done a good job of extricating it.
But but you're right though, Brent. I mean, you think about I can't get away from um, guys like Pacman and Mycelis and I mean, just you can't. And that
What
the
do you mean
young
you
guy
can't
with
get away from them?
well, no, if you take a political position, that's what gets fed to you because of the algorithm. And then once you start watching it, you keep getting
I
it all
don't
the
see
time.
that as an algorithm story. I see Pac-Man is making money.
Yeah.
No, he is, and
And he's clever,
YouTube is helping him make
but
that money.
Yeah.
his facts, he doesn't cite facts. He cites his opinion
Now, I didn't
as
say that
represented
Pac-Man was
by.
my go-to guy. My go-to guy
Right.
probably is Mycelis, but
I wouldn't even put any of them on there as my go-to, but
well, no, but of those that I named,
yeah. But you know
Well,
what?
I appreciate that, as the election starts to turn toward Trump, that you're looking desperately for some sort of
See, I wouldn't go that far either.
sugar
yeah,
high.
I'm not desperate.
I wouldn't say that it's turning towards Trump. Maybe, but I think, when you came out of that the convention and then the debate, there is absolutely no way that any person, whether it be Kamala or Biden or Trump, is going to maintain that level of enthusiasm that came out of that thing. So it's
Right.
it's almost sort of natural that it kind of ebbs back a little bit more towards the mean, so to speak. But what's going to happen in the last week or so, or the last 2 weeks? I think there's going to be I'll just say what I'll say. I
Okay.
think that once again that the enthusiasm, people will be recharged, reinvigorated to go another 2 weeks, because it's hard to sustain that level of enthusiasm and momentum for like months, even up 2 months. But I think the last couple of weeks, I think you're going to see something, more on both
That's going to
sides,
count.
probably
Let
on
me
both
ask you a
sides.
question. You think that'll counter these notification storms?
Yeah, I think they do.
We're losing. We're desperate. We need money.
Look, Trump says it in his way. They say it in their way. They're all hitting their people up to get money. I mean, that's just isn't that the nature of what the politicians and
No, I'm
campaigns
trying
do?
to
It's
speak.
just
I'm
My
trying to
what?
speak.
the way it works
I'm
here.
trying to speak directly to what you just said, Brent, which was that there's a natural kind of ebbing of the excitement or whatever the good vibes are. I mean, the use of the word vibes in a political campaign is obnoxious in the extreme, as far as I'm concerned.
That's weird.
I mean, come on, let's roll out a big banger and get real.
Well, what about this?
Well,
When you're running
I'd
a
like to support something Brent said earlier. Back in the olden days, I sold software for a living, and we had this thing, this belief that people make logical decisions for emotional reasons. And that's not just about software, that's about people, that's human nature. The roller coaster you see in the election right now. I think Brent is right. I think we probably got a 2-week emotional capability in us to sustain the last 2 weeks of the contest. So I think things will be different, and you're gonna see a big shift, not from the logical, gee, we need money, we need to put up ads, we all the rest of this. It's gonna be those guys are saying they're eating cats and dogs in Ohio, and we're saying we want to protect abortion rights, and the things that get you emotionally hooked are the things that are going to drive us through the end zone.
And what do we know that's going to happen that's going to rile up or get the Democrats excited and activated? The Obamas are going to come out full force, and they're gonna do that.
I think that I hate to throw this in there, but it seems to me that what's going on in the Middle East could be part of a late October surprise. Well,
if it's a surprise, it's been a surprise
not so surprising. A late October, not so surprise.
Yeah, all it would take is a ceasefire, not anything more comprehensive.
That would be a surprise.
No, that would be a huge surprise. I'd more, if anything is going to change in the cadence there, it's going to be on the upside, not the calmer side.
Or maybe Putin dies and the Ukrainian war ends.
Or maybe there's an Islamic revolution and they oust the Ayatollahs.
It's interesting to contrast this with what happened in the British election with Keir Starmer now in place, and within weeks, completely undermined and has gone from being this landslide winner to being a pariah because he isn't delivering anything he said he was, and he wants to charge old people. He doesn't want to give old people money for fuel in the winter, so lots of old people are going to die. For real, that's really going to happen. And Frank probably is. So it's interesting how politicians ride this fake wave in a way.
Oh my God, it's crazy. It's crazy. However, I do have people say to me, so is the political situation in the UK completely, does it completely overshadow what's going on in America? For me, not at all.
Yeah.
For me, not at all. I just look at what's going on in America. What's going on here, it's you know what I think about the way the politics works here? It comes and it goes. It comes and it goes. And in America, this is a once in a generation decision that has to be made, I think.
Well, you can imagine.
In my introduction, I did not say that Frank is living in London, whereas Keith is living in his head.
No, I was just there. To be fair, I was just there.
But I just think that it's impossible for me not to wake up and watch, my 4-screen feed, which I have like sitting right here over my face. I can't stop it. I can't stop listening to it, and it really causes all sorts of headaches. Because to me, it's the most consequential vote of any of our lifetimes.
But that's the good news, is that in 30 days, that's going to happen.
That's true.
Wants it over.
Well, so do I.
I want it over. I want to see what the vote is. And, I think we all have our ideas about what's going to happen once the vote comes in, which is mildly relevant to what the numbers are.
God, I just want to see my email feed lose 250 emails overnight. I just want to see that go away. And if it doesn't go away on its own, I'm going to go in and make it go away. It's just,
I know. I want
damn it. I want my feedback.
I think the real truth is, if you roll the clock forward to February, depending on the outcome, what is going on? What are the key things happening both in the US and in the world in February, depending on the outcome? What's going to be happening in the Middle East, depending on the outcome? Clearly, what's going to be happening in terms of Trump's legal cases and who gets imprisoned for what, depending on the outcome. there's huge differences depending on the outcome, and probably both of them are going to do a lot in the first 4 to 8 weeks of their term to put in place, that framework, whatever that framework is.
And think about if there's some kind of an extreme weather event, that
like a hurricane.
not it's like a hurricane. Like, tons of snow
Everyone's
is dumped
coming.
in New York City, or
The polar
huge
vortex.
more fires, and yes, it's the environmental issues are astounding. And no matter who gets in, those kinds of things have to be taken care of. And I think that the Democrats are onto an interesting thing with the way Trump deals with these natural disasters, and how he's managed to try and, I think he even succeeded in moving money around so that money went away from FEMA just during a natural disaster. This is insanity.
I'd like to pose a question. What maybe it's like a two-parter. So we've seen these drips and drabs of Republicans that have come out endorsing Kamala Harris, and even the Cheneys and all that kind of stuff. Is there a shot that W does this at some point if he truly believes that Trump is an existential threat or whatever they call it? And the second part is, if he did, would it matter?
I don't understand the question. If W did what?
W will do it, and it won't matter.
Yeah, if he came
Yeah,
out
I
and actually
understand the
endorsed
question.
it, would he
The
do it?
answer
And
is,
if would it matter if he even did?
Yes and no.
well,
What
no,
does W do it
he
mean?
won't do it.
Endorse Kamala Harris.
He
Oh,
won't do it. No.
Would it matter? I think it would matter a little bit.
I think Bruce Springsteen matters more.
I agree. I thought Bruce, that was an amazing
I was a
thing that he did.
great endorsement he did, but
Yeah.
who does that move?
I don't know.
Old people like me.
Yeah.
I was totally on the fence, and then the boss spoke.
Look, you cannot argue with the boss. God, come on.
Seriously, does anybody know somebody that literally is like, wow, with the boss? I think
No,
I might have done it.
It's about Taylor Swift. Come on, man.
See, I think that's the wild card. I know that sounds like a joke or anything, but
No,
if she
I don't
has the
think
capability of getting new people registered and signed
Yep.
up, and then they get them to the poll. See, those folks are not being counted in these polls, and that's why I don't even like any of these polls, because you could find a poll that works for whatever way you want to go at this point.
Those are the polls that each of the candidates are getting
If I look
from their
through
teams.
if I look through the spectrum of my kids, my least conventional kid, who's a rapper, is the closest to not liking Kamala and wanting to vote for Trump. And my most conservative kid is totally pro Kamala.
Wow, that's interesting.
And if I tell you that I'm not surprised by that, would you be surprised? I am not surprised by that.
Why? Because so many of these
It makes sense to me.
These rappers are saying, see, there's a certain level of sense, I guess, or logic. I'll put logic. Going back to the 80s, Trump has been one of those guys that a lot of rappers are putting their songs, because he's rich and he's arrogant. He looks like he has a lot of control and power. And that's what a lot of rap has been about. And so there are a lot of rappers that have been saying this stuff. And, even Kanye and people like that. And Ice Cube, well, yeah, Diddy, yeah. I don't know if he was to push that one up front there.
You know what? He was that particular time in the 80s and 90s. He was a mover and shaker in New York City.
Oh yeah, they all love him. And they think of him because of that. And so you're right. There may be. It's so stupid though. And I'm not calling your son to. I'm just saying, just the mere thought that because he is seen as cool and like down with the rap, he has absolutely nothing in common with these people, but they like what he represents, and so that's why they tend to vote for him, and that's the real shame. There's going to be a certain percentage of folks that are like that.
Well, let's be honest. The commonality isn't a thread. I mean, he has nothing in common with
No.
47% of his base.
Oh, yeah. And I love the term. He's like one of us. I'm like, in what way? I
He's
mean,
honest. He tells it like it is.
and he tells it. Yeah. So if you're a small business owner that works for him, you're not going to get paid, and that's telling it like it is.
Yeah. How is it, Donald?
Okay, I want to wrap this by going around the table and anything else that you want to say? Hopefully different than
Yeah,
the
I got
election.
things. I got things.
Okay,
Okay.
let's start with Frank.
I'm gonna throw some shows out there that you need to be watching. And even if you're in like the third season of some of them, you need to be watching Slow Horses. You need to be watching Only Murders in the Building. You need to be watching Bad Monkey. It's hilarious.
It's all right.
You need to be watching The Old Man. You need to be watching Tulsa King. I tried to get through Agatha all along, but it just died on me. I'm sorry. And The Penguin. Oh my God, it's incredible.
He just doesn't look like him.
Not at all. And the acting is great. And
What we're referring to is that what's the guy's name?
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell
Oh
is the
God.
lead in The Penguin, and he looks like this other guy.
He does, and even in the close-ups, I keep looking in the close-ups
Can't
for
find
some
him in
giveaway.
there.
There
Can't
is no
find him.
giveaway, and he's a terrific actor, and I would say I would put that way up high on the list of things you should watch if you know anything at all about the Batman.
Okay, well,
world.
I would
That's all.
counter Bad Monkey. I enjoy, but it's not that great.
Yeah, it's entertaining to
okay.
me. That's all.
Slow Horses is the best show on TV.
Phew.
Okay.
There you go.
What else?
That's it. I got
The,
nothing
the,
else.
the
Steve and I
perfect couple.
just found a cute one. It's called, it's not for everybody. It's called Nobody Wants This.
Oh,
I'm
yeah. It's a
tempted.
rom-com. It's very funny.
I'm
Yeah,
tempted.
it's also interfaith kind of thing, Jewish, non-Jewish, and it's
really funny.
It's funny. It actually, I think some of the writing is
Kristen
really
Bell is really good in
Bell,
this.
yeah.
The guy,
Yeah.
So on Netflix, you've got Nicole Kidman and Liv Schreiber just got a new
don't
six-part
spoil
series.
it. Don't spoil it.
I won't.
Oh,
It's called
yeah,
The
We're
it's-
going to
Perfect,
watch the rest of it.
It's
The
good.
Perfect Couple.
It's good.
It reminds me of White Lotus,
You
actually.
watch the whole thing?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
See that?
I like it.
That
You
tells you
guys-
something.
No,
All you guys are so highbrow. I mean, I'm on Netflix. I'm watching the Vince McMahon docuseries. Now that's for me.
Hey, I got one for you. On the night of I think it's the 13th, CNN has a new documentary series called TV on the Edge. And what it looks at is moments in history on television that affected the psyche of the nation after. So I did an interview with them about the Kanye thing, which I think I told you all about a while back. The Kanye thing on the NBC Katrina concert, where he said George Bush doesn't like black people, and just the insanity that ensued. And
Was that the same one where Taylor Swift won and he came up and tried to give it to Beyonce?
No, this was a totally different thing. This was him and Mike Myers during a telethon for the Katrina victims, and I was there. I was his producer that night, and so this documentary is going to air on the 13th on CNN at 9 o'clock. So be there or be square. You'll see me.
So Brian Williams
Yeah.
is returning
Yeah.
to the election night broadcast on not a chair. It's
Amazon
Prime.
with
Amazon.
Not
Jonathan
Don Lemon.
Wald. No,
Okay, good.
with Jonathan Wald as his producer, who was his executive producer at NBC when he was the anchor of Nightly News, and also as executive producer for part of the time of the Today Show. So this guy's really good. And so
So are you going to
know,
watch
this-
the results with Brian on Amazon, or what
No.
are you going to watch? Well, I know Steve will watch the multi-view.
I'll watch the multi-view.
The multi-view is not going to be where the action is.
No, but still, I'll watch the
The
multi-view. and I'll
multi-view
be
is really
reading.
two things. There's what's his name? Axelrod. David Axelrod on CNN is fantastic. And there's this guy, what's his name? Chris. the scummy right wing guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
The scummy
Um,
right wing guy. Oh
I
yeah,
don't think it's Chris. I think it's something else, but I don't
Scummy
Whatever
right
it is,
wing.
he's an attorney,
Mhm.
and
He's a swirg
so
at
that's good.
SWRG.
I'm over my sugar high of um, Fox. Even without the audio.
I wish they would just dump that off the split so I could put something else in there.
I wish that we could choose
Yeah, me too.
just one channel. Then
Yeah.
we'd always be sitting on that, and they would be bought by Costco, and then there'd be a real revolution going
Oh
on.
my God.
Damn right.
Okay.
Okay, who else?
Yeah. Dennis, last thoughts?
Honestly, I don't have any. I'm just reading the paper and watching the day by day.
And by paper, you mean
Papers.
Washington Post, New York Times, Boston
Right.
Globe.
but not paper, electronically, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dennis, are we still predicting a blue tsunami?
I am.
You are.
Check out, I put it in the feed before, but check out Alan Lichtman, a political science professor at American University. He developed a 13 metric analysis that's been right in 9 of the 10 last elections. And
Yeah, but his toupee put together a 15-point checklist. I'm going with that.
that's not a
There you
toupee. He
go.
runs
He
marathons with that
steals
hair.
at the
That-
last second. He
that's-
grabs the toupee bit.
That does not look like real hair. I'm sorry.
No, it really doesn't. I think all those guys are, they have toupees. The other guy, David Pac-Man or whatever his name.
Nah, he's a young guy. He's that's his hair probably.
Oh, I see. Young.
I'm guessing,
If you're under 70, you're young.
What's that guy with the 3 names that's also on MSNBC? I like him. John Stewart David.
Oh,
Dave-
Brian Tyler Cohen.
Brian Tyler Cohen.
You had all 3 names wrong, Frank.
Okay, Keith, last thoughts.
A lot going on in AI, especially venture backing narratives, which are leading to a bit of a crisis of confidence in the Valley venture community about whether they still have a role to play.
Wow. So
Yeah, or whether it's real or at all.
Well, actually, the thing that scares them is that it's more real than they imagine, as in, like in the internet and mobile, there was lots of scope for new companies to build on top of those new platforms. But
Right.
the fear is that AI might do the whole stack and not leave any space for anything else.
Yeah.
Therefore, what will you invest in?
So Keith, I just did a show with a partner. Do you know Scott B? Yeah, you know Scott Beachuk from Norwest Venture Partners.
Yeah.
And
He's a Salesforce guy.
yeah, and Alex Bard, who's the managing director for Red Point Ventures, and Anand, our buddy Anand Thakur. So I brought them all together to talk about this. Should have, if I'd been thinking, we should have had you on there too. But that was a really interesting discussion about what AI is doing to venture in the enterprise app space. And of course, there's a lot of opinions on that one.
Yep. Well, if the insert side team are using APIs from OpenAI to build stuff that cuts out lots of logic, that means the whole SaaS middle layer, has to redefine its purpose.
One of the things that was said was they look for companies that are looking to revitalize or revolutionize workflows.
There you go.
So that kind of says a lot right there.
Right. And revolutionize could mean eradicate. As in encapsulate, so that you don't even see the workflows, they happen inside the AI.
Yeah.
I wish they'd try to do something hard, like rationalizing supply chains.
Oh,
I think if we look at divided government, we don't see that being diverted from in the SaaS space. I think that's a phony story.
well, isn't that why a lot of these billionaires are going for Trump? Is they don't want the regulation, or they want to have their say in how the regulation is defined?
Well, yeah,
That was
Brent,
my point half an hour ago.
Brent and
Yep.
Dennis, you two probably followed this, but Mark Benioff did announce, in quotes, a hard pivot to
Mhm.
agent-based AI,
It's Agent
meaning
Force. Yeah.
an agent-based AI is a replacement for manual
Yes.
processes.
Semi-autonomous or autonomous automation. Yeah.
Yes, and that is quite a big. When Mark Benioff recognizes the need for that pivot, it tells you he's seeing something coming.
Oh yeah.
He pivots every 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I,
you
don't-
gotta
I think
give
you're overcompensating for, you know, I don't see the Asian technology as being anything more than an extension of what SAS is.
Well, that in a way that's right,
Okay.
but there's no space for vendors. So it is like SaaS, but there's no vendors.
Yeah,
or vendors aren't what they used to be, or not going to be
yeah,
what
I agree
Yeah.
with that. I just I don't see this as a either or. It's more of a
inevitability or something like that.
it's just processing the AI wave and making it something that's a part of something that is more entrenched.
The discussion to Google is systems of record are what the focus is whenever there's a system of record, you usually have lots of compliance layers and lots of different vendors in that stack. And if the AI can talk directly to the systems of record and do all the reporting and management, that just changes a lot.
Yeah, but
Hey,
first of all, there's a hegemony going on between Android and Apple, and they are not going to surrender the gatekeeper role easily, if at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that also brings up Meta's new experimental AR glasses.
Yeah. Well, no,
Where if
but
you-
they also announced an AI that somehow lives inside their system, that is text to video and
Yeah,
It's gotta live inside their system.
so it's a longer term play, but Zuckerberg was quite explicit that yet again he's trying to replace the smartphone with a system of intelligence that includes glasses,
Yeah,
speakers, and microphones.
it's good that these billionaires have some problems of their own.
Yeah.
Well, he's got to find a way to replace it because they missed out on it on the smartphone. I mean,
Well, he's the number two richest person in the world
yeah,
today.
he ought to be happy right now. He crossed the $200 billion mark.
Yeah, but he knows how fragile that really is.
Poor Mark.
And,
You
and
know what?
then
They should all know how fragile it is, because they are witnessing an end stage, not a beginning. AI represents a commoditization of all the tech that we've watched for 30 or 40 years. AI is going to make much of tech a lot cheaper and kind of a so what. And so the real question becomes, where's the white space?
Yeah.
I haven't bought software in 25 years.
Liar,
I
liar, pants on fire, LumaFusion.
That's true.
Do apps count?
No, that's exactly right. And I'm sticking with it.
This
Every
Dennis
instance
has got
that I don't
something.
pay for is another brick in the wall.
I use mine for DVDs, by the way, Dennis.
well,
you
you know
use
what?
what?
This is a DVD reader player, USB port. I bought it to install Office on my first Mac
Well, that was
15,
interesting.
20 years ago. I have never used it again.
I have one
I
of
didn't
those
use
as
it the
well.
first time. I haven't used Office in 40 years.
Hey, can we?
I bought one of those to see if I could play Blu-ray on my Mac, and the answer was no.
No, you have to have a
Ah.
Blu-ray one. You know what? But the Directors Guild keeps sending DVDs, which I think is just
I know,
ridiculous.
Frank,
What a
but this
waste
is
of
a
money.
1% problem.
Jesus. You know what? The problem, we're just so
So?
oversaturated with content in all its forms or formats. And I'm so tired of people talking about content is king. You know what's king right now? Filters. Filters are king.
I see you got a green one
What
going
does
there.
that mean?
all day
filter
long.
because
It's
there's
like
no absolutely.
plastics.
I listen to Frank.
This is The Graduate 2.0.
I listen to Frank talk about all these great shows to watch. There's like absolutely no way I have enough time to watch these damn shows. So
Well,
even
that's because you're
Frank is a
on.
filter for me, and even I can't. I need a filter for my filter at this point
But I
because there's
love
no
your
way I can
green
even watch
filter.
all that.
That filter is really nice. It sets
Well, I'll
your
tell you
blue
what.
apart
I'll
from.
tell you what, Brent. Well, you're so right. You know what Apple did with the Apple TV? They used to have this thing saying "Save this to a list." They got rid of it. So on the Apple TV now, the only way you can remember something is add it to your watch next. So you end up with this huge, long watch next, just in case you want to watch it. It's the only way to remember anything.
I
The
just
UX
posted
is
to.
crap.
I
It's a
just
crap
turned it
UX.
into a note on Substack. And
By
Hey,
the way,
Steve, I
people
saw that
keep watching these things.
are we live
saw
on
that you
Substack?
did. I saw you did a Substack live. Have you got access to it?
Yeah. How did you do that?
How did I do that?
Ooh.
Did they give you
I
access?
wasn't
Coming
aware.
soon to a store near you.
Yeah,
Well, it said at
you
least
guys
on
are
the
going to all
headline.
be, populating that.
Has Brent said his last?
How did you get it? Because I've asked for it and I
I
haven't
said
got
way
it.
more than enough.
I haven't gotten it either, and I asked for
Said
it.
enough, Brent?
Yeah, I said enough.
All right. And I will end by saying that one of our longtime viewers, Jerome Hughes, I missed this comment earlier, so I'm going to bring it up now. I'm going to paraphrase. It says that he doesn't think the endorsements of the boss and Ms. Swift matter so much for who someone will vote for, but he thinks that they have a lot of power to actually get people to vote.
That's
Yeah.
a big deal.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
it is a
Yep.
big deal. And I think
Real
that-
numbers.
right. Thanks, Jerome.
I'm looking for the endorsement that causes the right wing to say, "Oh, forget it. It's not worth it."
But Ivanka, maybe Ivanka will come out.
Yeah, she's a leader.
Okay.
All right. Well,
What about you guys? Do you guys have any last thoughts? When I say you guys, I mean the Gilmores.
Gilmore's.
Gillmor?
Go ahead.
What do you? I did do my last thought. My
What?
last thought was about Jerome.
Oh, that was okay.
Yeah.
That was Jerome's last thought.
Oh man, I just want everyone to vote. I did. I will say this. We are sitting here in South Carolina right now, and I am kind of determined to vote here, although I'm not registered. So, we
I don't
came
think it'll make
right
a
up
difference.
onto the deadline to register, but then it got expanded a little bit because we had a hurricane come through here a little bit. And so the whole state is getting a little bit of a reprieve on when they can register. So I've got a little time. So anyway, I will tell you this. I went to the DMV because I still hadn't gotten my license changed. And I went to the DMV with all my papers. And with that, I mean, like, I've got, my marriage license for a name change. And I've got a proof that I'm living here.
That
with all
only
of my
took like
mortgage
10
papers,
years.
And I got, whatever. And so the first person that I show all this to at the DMV says, "Oh, okay, yeah, you've got everything great," and gives me a number, and then I have to wait. And so I wait for about an hour, and I go up finally to the stall or to the window, and she takes a look at all my papers and says, "Well, this is a copy of your birth certificate."
Would you have to have the long form version or something?
I said, she says, "We need a certified birth certificate." I said,
Wow.
it's a copy of a certified birth certificate. And there was just no way around. Now, mind you, the other problem I had was I could have used a passport for my ID. However, somehow I misplaced my passport. I applied for another passport, and to prove my my identity to the passport people, I sent them my passport card, which I also have. So that's gone in their hands. And it's not back yet because they're fighting me about, this is another topic, but what I wore a headband in my photo, and they're now struggling with me about that. Anyway, that's another thing.
Wait, can I ask you a question? Did they ask you ahead of time what your political affinity was? Because I'm
No.
guessing.
No, they didn't. No,
Because
they
if you had said Republican, I think maybe this might have gone a different way. No, I'm
maybe
just kidding.
I thought of that. I did think of that.
You
got
are
a
in
good
South
point
Carolina.
there.
But I tell you, it is not easy to produce all that you need to produce. And I'm, you know, granted, I'm at the late stage of it, days before. I get it. And I did order another birth certificate, and I can tell you also I have a funny story about my birth certificate, which is
Is it as long as the first story?
shut up. So fuck, it's okay. The birth certificate, and the reason I just have a copy is because that's the only thing my parents ever gave me. But I got this birth certificate when I was 19, because my stepfather adopted me. And before I got it, I didn't even realize, I mean, it's an adult adoption. And they actually changed my birth certificate to reflect my adopted father.
Oh, wow.
So I so anyway, it's
Wow.
my point is that my dad gave it to me at some point, but it was just a copy, and I never really thought I would ever need anything more. And now I find myself having to get that certificate from the state of Michigan, and I don't know if it'll come in time. And if it doesn't, I'll vote in California.
I just want to acknowledge, Tina, after listening to you for the last 23 minutes, you now have a strong East Coast accent. You didn't used to.
Oh, really?
I'm hearing like somewhere from the Jersey Shore up to Boston, and I'm not clever enough to know
Wow.
where.
Yeah, and
Well-
ask her sometime about what a New York accent sounds like. Rich entertainment value.
Yeah,
She
Steve,
has no idea.
Steve does. I do. I lived in New York. I'm still a New
In where?
Yorker.
In Manhattan,
Boy,
right?
Colin Farrell has it
Manhattan.
down though.
Yeah.
In that, no, he has it down.
Long Island. No,
See, this
Use
is where she
guys.
goes. She goes to a Long Island
Long
accent.
Island, a
Use
redneck Long
guys.
Island accent. Yeah.
Frank knows more about this than
Gabagool. Use guys.
I may, Keith. It's possible that my accents changed slightly, but you'd think it'd get more southern here.
Even
Yeah.
the way you say accent sounds East Coast to me. Anyway,
Well, there you go.
Wherever you go.
Steve,
All right. Well,
Steve, what about you?
So, people
Parting
who are
thoughts.
struggling to get registered, just get your shit together. Have your documents ready. It's not easy.
it's
It's not easy. They don't make it easy.
it's a battle of which is more irrelevant, South Carolina
Well,
or California.
I wanted to vote in South Carolina because I want another Democrat vote. I want that's me right there. That one that changed from 7 to 8. I want.
Yeah.
I want
You
it
could literally tell you'll be making a difference in South Carolina.
I think it'd make more difference in South Carolina than
If you
California.
go out the driveway here and take a left and go down 2 doors, you'll see a huge Trump sign in the
Trump
in
sign.
the yard.
So you could counter
America's
that.
great again.
You can counter that by putting a nice little itty bitty Harris wall sign in your front.
Well, we have had discussions about that.
Are you kidding? No, I don't want you guys getting hurt. I
Thank
wouldn't.
you.
Brent,
Thank you.
Brent, do you have a yard sign?
No, hell no.
Would you?
And I'm in a very safe Harris Walls. Harris.
He won't even
It's
put
already
rams
out
in
there.
he won't put Rams in his front yard because no one around him supports the Rams. They're all
No, I would have no issue because nobody cares about the Rams here. So
Right now, it's about running silent, running deep.
Ooh, good
I
movie.
see a lot of I suck at fantasy football signs too.
Okay
Yeah.
then. All right.
Neighborhoods that are into this
Frank?
thing.
It's great to see you back, and
Thanks.
as
absolutely.
with
Thank
everybody
you, guys.
Um, thanks to everybody who showed up, and especially those who didn't. We'll see you again next time, and there will be a next time,
Ooh.
at least for 30 days.
Yay.
Yep. And guess what we're going to talk about?
Bye-bye.
All the shows I'm not going to watch.
Oh, I forgot how to shut the show down.